Good morning, students. In today's session, I will explain how we can overload unary operators in C++ with some example programs. In our last class, we learned about the basics of the concept called polymorphism. Polymorphism means multiple forms. In C++, same function in the same program can be used for varieties of tasks depending on the argument. Similarly, same operator also can be used for different purpose depending on the operands. For example, you consider the operator plus. So generally, plus operator is used for adding either two integers or for adding two float value numbers. But in C++, same plus operator is given additional power or additional strength to add two strings, which is not basic data type. Similarly, plus operator can be used to add two complex number. Again, complex number is not a basic data type, they are object. That means C++ treats basic data type and user defined data type one and the same when it comes to operator overloading. So the same operator can be used both with basic data type as well as with user defined data type. And we studied about different types of polymorphism. The two types of polymorphism are static polymorphism, where the polymorphism is resolved during compilation time, and other one is dynamic polymorphism, where the polymorphism is resolved during runtime. And two types of examples of polymorphism are, one is function polymorphism, other one is operator polymorphism. They are also known as function overloading and operator overloading respectively. But these two categories, function overloading as well as operator overloading, comes under the category of static polymorphism. But dynamic polymorphism is also can be achieved in C++ using the concept called virtual function that we are going to discuss later. In today's class, I will explain how a unary operator can be overloaded in C++. As an example, I will consider the example of overloading the unary operator plus plus, because there are several unary operators like plus plus, minus minus, exclamatory mark, etc. But in your syllabus, there is a program related to overloading plus plus operator, and that operator we are using it to find the next date. And I will illustrate the concept of overloading of unary operator through a simple example program. At the end of today's session, you will be in a position to understand how unary operator can be overloaded in C++. Here, I will consider the example of overloading plus plus operator, which is unary nature, that is used to increment the date, where date is not a basic data type, it's an object type. Let us consider the simple example of overloading unary operator. Here, the operator I am overloading is plus plus, which is unary in nature. That operator I will use it, I will apply it on the object called D, which is an object of date class. So when you use that operator plus plus on the object called D, it gives you the next date. For example, the date is 10/11/2020. The next date will be 11/10/2020. And if the original date is 30/4/2020, so a maximum in April month 30 can come. There, if you increment, it should give you 1/5/2020. Similarly, if the original date is 31/7/2020, the next date will be 1/8/2020. And if the original date is 31/12/2020, 31/12/2020 means the next date will be 1/1/2021. So I will illustrate how you can find the next date by overloading the plus plus operator. Class date, here your class name is date. Already in our previous example, we learned about the member data and some member functions of class date. And the class date has three private member data, dd, mm, yy. And the first member function is read function, void read, cin, dd, mm, yy. The second member function is display, that is to display the date in the date format of dd/mm/yy format. And in our last class itself, I explained whenever you are overloading any operator in C++, you should use an operator function, or you should write one operator function. The operator function can be either you can make the operator function as a member function, or you can write the operator function as a friend function. The difference is, in case of unary operator, if you are writing the operator function as a member operator function, then no argument is necessary. On the other hand, if the operator function you written it as a friend operator function, in that case for unary operator, one object is must. Similarly, if you are writing the operator function as a member function, in order to overload binary operator, one parameter is enough. And if you are writing the same thing as a friend operator function, then two objects or two parameters are necessary. That means for member operator function, for unary operator, no argument, and for friend operator function, one object, one parameter. And in case of binary operator, for member operator function, one parameter, and for friend operator function, two parameters. This is how the operator function is written to overload the unary operator plus plus. First, you have to mention the return type. Here, the return type is void, because if the original date d equal to 10/11/2020 means the next date will be 11/11/2020. That will store in d itself. So we are not storing the result in any other variable. Means the return type is void. The operator, the keyword is operator, that is a must, and which is operator overloading plus plus. Since plus plus is a unary operator, I am writing the operator function here as a member operator function, means no argument is necessary. So the first statement is, whenever the date is given to you, first you increment the date part. So dd plus plus. And suppose you take one example. The given date is 31/12/2020. 31/12/2020. So when the moment you write dd plus plus, dd value become 32/12/2020. So you check whether the date value is greater than 31. Yes, after incrementing from 31, the date value will become 32. That is true. So nested statement, then month is 12. Yes. So date has already incremented and it has become 32, and the month is 12 only. In that case, what you have to do? What's the next date? 1/1 next year. So date should be set to 1, month should be reset to 1, and year should be incremented. So here date is set to 1, month is set to 1, and the year is 2020 means the next year will be 2021. So your result will be, original date is 31/12/2020. The new date will be 1/1/2021. You take another example. Suppose the original date is 31/7/2020. So there also dd plus plus means the date become 32, month 7 only, and the year is 2020. Then is it date greater than 31? Yes. But is it month equal to 12? No. So only date is greater than 31 and the month is not 12. The month is 7 here. Or the next date? Date should be set to 1, month should be next month. So month should become 8 and the year should be remain as it is. So the else part, dd is set to 1 and plus plus means month is incremented and else is closed. Now we consider the other possibility. Suppose the date given to you is 34/2020. 34/2020. There, if you write dd plus plus, what happens? It becomes 31/4/2020. You check the condition. Is it month is 4? Yes, because if in the month of 4, 6, 9, 11, and after incrementing, if the date value become greater than 30, or the next month, what next date? The next date, next date will be, date should be set to 1, month should be incremented. Here, date is set to 1 and month becomes plus plus by, from 4 it becomes 5. So the next date will be 1/5/2020. Else, suppose the given date is 29/2/1980. So date value is 29, month is 2, and the year is 1980, which is a leap year. So to start with, I will increment the date. So from date 29, it becomes 30/2/1980. So here is, in that case, what happens if the date is, month is February 2, year is a leap year, that is also true. And after incrementing, date has become more than 20, it has become 30. What's the next date? It should be 1, month should be incremented to 3, and year should remain as it is. So you reset dd equal to 1, month is incremented. So from 29 to 1980, now it has become 1/3/1980. Last possibility is, the month is 2 and it's not a leap year, and in that case, max original date is 28/2/1980. 28/2/1980. After incrementing, date becomes how much now? 29/2/1981. But 1981 is not a leap year. So month is 2, it's not a leap year, and the date value is greater than 28. That is also true. In that case, again, date is set to 1 and month is incremented. So we are now consider all the possibilities of finding the next date. If the original date is 31 12 1980 means the next date will be 1 1 1981. The original date is 34 1980. The next date will be 1 5 1980. So the original date is 31 5 1980. The next date will be 1 6 1980. So whatever date you give as an input, the system prints the next date. So in addition to that one, you can increment the date only if the date is valid date. So the original date itself is 36 to 1980 means the date itself is invalid. So in that case, don't increment the date. So in that case, we have to write one more function called check valid function that checks whether the given date is valid or not. For that function, the input is the given date and the output is 1 or 0. 1 means the given date is valid and 0 means the given date is invalid. But that function, I will write it as a friend function. So the case of friend function, you can define the friend function only outside the class. So keyword friend, return value is 1 or 0 means int type, and the function name is valid. I told earlier, whenever you are writing any function, the friend function can access the private data, dd, mm, yy, etc. through the object. So for a friend function, at least one object should be passed. Here the object I am passing is d, which is an object of date class. Then you close the class. So with this, so far you have learned our class name is date. The member data are dd, mm, yy. The three member functions are, the first one is read function, next one is display function, and the third one is an operator function. All these three functions I'm writing it as a member function. So I can write it, I can define those three functions inside the class. One additional function called valid function I'm going to write it. That is a friend function whose return type is 1 or 0 means int type. Now you have to define the function called valid. The valid function or check function we already studied in your previous example. Probably in the previous program, I might have used the function name as check. No problem. The function name check and valid doesn't make any difference. So here return type is int. The function name valid. The object is D, which is of class D. How to check whether the date is valid or not? Whenever if you want to qualify any date as valid, date value should not be more than 31, month value should not be more than 12, and the year should not be 0. So if d dot dd less than or equal to 0 or d dot dd greater than 31, any one limitation, d dot mm less than or equal to 0 or d dot mm greater than 12, and d dot yy even it is 0 or less than or equal to 0 also return 0. Next, if the month is 4 6 9 11, in all these 4 months date value maximum can be 30. If it is more than 30, then also the date is invalid, return 0. And the month is February and it's a leap year, and the date value in the leap year also maximum day is 29. If it is greater than 29 in the leap year also, return 0 means invalid. And if the month is 2, not a leap year, and that case more than 28 is also invalid, so return 0. Otherwise only return 1. So this is a function which checks whether the given date is valid or not. Since it's a friend function, I have to define that function only outside the class. You know how to define a member function outside the class. Straight away start with return type. If it's a friend function, start away with the function name and the object. Now we'll write the main function void main date d. So here the class name is date and the object is d. First I'm calling enter date, enter the date in day, month and year. So in order to input the date, you have to call which function? Read function. So d dot read. After reading the date, first you have to make sure that the date is valid. Only if the date is valid, you increment the date. If the date is invalid, display the message the date is invalid. So if valid d, that means whenever you call the function like this, the function calls the main function calls the function called valid with the object d as parameter. And if it is if the meaning of that statement, if valid d means if you call the valid function with d of the object and if it returns 1, instead of writing if valid of d double equals to 1, you can write like this also. If valid d means it is true only. So whenever you call the valid function, if it returns true value means 1 is returned, then you display. See out the original date is, first you write d dot display, then straight away you write plus d. See here I'm applying the operator called plus on what? I'm applying the operator plus on d, which is an object. So d is not an integer, d is not a float type. So I'm applying that object on applying that operator on object. That is the meaning of operator overloading. Operator overloading provides additional strengths to that operator, so its behavior will not change whether the operand you are passing is belongs to basic data type or user defined data type. Here I am applying the plus plus operator on the user defined data type called object. So plus plus d mean the day is increment. So when the moment you write plus plus day, it goes, the control goes to the operator function. Within the operator function, we have considered all the different possibilities of incrementing the date. Then you write see out next date is, again you call d dot display. Before calling plus plus d, you have called d dot display. It will print the original date. After plus plus d, once again you call the function d dot display. So it will increment the date. Then else see out the given date is invalid. So in this program, you should observe two things. One is which is operator we are overloading. The operator I am overloading is plus plus, which is unary in nature. That's the first concept. And the second thing is I'm writing the operator function as a member function. Since we are writing it as a member function, no need for any argument. Instead of writing it as a member function, if you are writing it as a friend function, then one object is must. So this is the real strength of operator overloading. So one of the basic concept in object-oriented programming, where same operator can be used for different purpose depending on the operand. If the operand you give is a integer type, it gives you the next number. If the operand you are giving is a date type, it gives you the next date. Okay, students, in today's class, we learned through a simple example of overloading unary operator plus plus to find the next date. As an exercise, you can use the same, you can overload another unary operator called minus minus to find the previous date. There, be careful. The original date is 31/12/1980. Then the previous date is 30/12/1980. Where the original date is 1/1/2020. In that case, the previous date should be 31/12/1980. So you have to go back to the previous. So you try to write a simple program making use of the previous example to overload the operator minus minus to find the previous date. So these are some review questions on operator overloading concept. The two overloading of unary operator. Mention the rules for overloading a unary operator. The only rule you should follow here is you have to write a function called operator function. That function can be either a member function or it can be friend function. If you are a member function, means first you mention the return type, then the keyword operator, then mention which is operator overloading, either plus plus, minus minus, etc. Then open the parenthesis and close the parenthesis because no argument is required because you are overloading unary operator. Illustrate with an example overloading unary operator. In the today's class, I explained how plus plus operator, which is a unary operator, can be used to find the next date. You try to make an attempt on using minus minus operator to find the previous date. So some simple multiple choice questions on unary operator overloading. If to overload a unary operator function has DOS argument. So no argument. So the number of the correct answer is B, 0. The operator used to find the previous date. The previous date is minus minus. The correct answer is C. To overload a binary operator, friend operator function takes dash argument. So here we're overloading what operator? Binary operator. That too, the operator function, I'm writing it as a friend function, means then two arguments are necessary. So the correct answer is A. When an existing operator is overloaded, it loses its original meaning. So no. Whenever any operator is overloaded, for example, in today's class, I have overloaded which operator? I have overloaded plus plus operator to find the next date. But what is the basic functioning of plus plus operator? To increment the integer variable. So even though you have used plus plus operator to find the next date, its original meaning remains the same. In some other program, I can use the same plus plus operator to find the next integer. So it never loses its original meaning. So you are providing additional power, not you are removing the original power. So the correct answer is when an existing operator is overloaded, it loses its original meaning. It's false. The correct answer is A. Plus plus operator can be used with integer operand, float operand, objects, both A and C. So definitely we know that plus plus operator can be used with integer operator operand. And today's class I explained how the plus plus operator are used on object. So the correct answer is both A and C. The correct answer is D. So in today's class, we learned through an example program the concept of overloading unary operator. So we learned how unary operator is overloaded and how operator function is written for overloading a particular operator. Here I have written an operator function to overload plus plus like this. So here's operator. Whenever you are overloading any operator, first you have to write one operator function. In the same program, we are overloading two different operator mean, then you have to write two operator function. So with this, I will conclude today's class. In my next class, I will take some more example of overloading other categories of operator. For example, in the next class, I will discuss about how to overload plus, minus, star, and slash operator. All these four operators are binary in nature. So in the next class, my next class will be on overloading of binary operator. Thank you.